The story of Moses and the Exodus from Egypt has been told thousands of times. It's a reminder to the Jewish people that they were once slaves in Egypt, but now are free. Free because of God's love and promises.
One fine morning, one of Moses' sheep strayed a bit from the path. I said, Moses followed the sheep and came across a burning bush. It was the craziest thing. This green bush was on fire, but instead of burning up and getting all crinkled and then black, it stayed green. This was, of course, a miracle. It was God getting Moses' attention so that he could talk to him. And it worked. Moses! Moses!
I am here.
I am the God of thy father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. I have seen the affliction of my people in Egypt, and have heard their cry. I have come to deliver them out of the hands of the Egyptians, and to bring them out of that place unto a good land, flowing with milk and honey. Now, Moses, I need you to go back to Pharaoh, and tell him to let the Jews go free, and then you will need to lead the Jews out of Egypt.
It's important to know that Moses stuttered whenever he spoke, so he was always nervous to speak in public.
But why should why should I be the one to lead my people?
Fear not. I will be with you.
What should I tell the people?
Just tell the children of Israel, also known as the Jews, also now known as the slaves, that they need to listen to you, because you speak for me. Tell them to leave their homes and everything they have always known, and follow you to the wilderness.
That is crazy. They'll never listen. And besides, I'm slow of speech and slow of tongue.
You're right. It will not be easy. I forgot to mention, Pharaoh is not going to simply agree to let his slaves go free. He will take some convincing, and it will not be pretty.
Please, send someone else.
Your brother Aaron speaks well, right? He will have to help. I will only speak to you, but you can tell Aaron what I said, and he can be the one who speaks to Pharaoh and the people. And so Moses and Aaron went to the people of Israel and convinced them that God had spoken to Moses. Then they went to see Pharaoh at the palace.
Pharaoh, we are here to demand, in the name of our all-powerful and all-knowing God, that you release the Hebrew people from bondage. If you do not release the Hebrews, Egypt will be smitten with a greater plague than it has ever seen before.
There is no way I'm going to do that. I don't know God you were talking about, and I will not let your people go. Now get out of my palace.
To punish Pharaoh for his refusal to let the Jews go, God turned the water of the Nile to blood. It was horrible. Everyone needs fresh water to live, and instead of water, the entire river ran red with blood. Pharaoh was furious, and he called Moses and Aaron back to the palace.
Okay, this is horrible. The Nile River has turned to blood, and it's your fault. Everyone is freaking out. Maybe your God is powerful after all. If I let your people go, will he turn the river back to water?
Yes, of course. We don't want to harm your people. We just want to leave and be free.
Fine, then go.
So Aaron and Moses left the palace and told the Jewish people to start getting ready for their journey. But then...
Get Moses and Aaron back here.
Yes, Pharaoh. We were just leaving.
Not so fast. I realize that when you go, I will have no one to build my pyramids. So I've hardened my heart and changed my mind. You need to stay.
But Pharaoh, more terrible things will happen to the Egyptian people if you do not let us go.
I will take my chances. Now get out of my palace and tell the Jews to get back to work.
Soon, Egypt was overrun with another of God's plagues, frogs. Wherever you looked, there were frogs all over the land. As you can imagine, it was awful. So Pharaoh called Moses and Aaron back to the palace and told them he would now allow the Jews to leave Egypt. But when they were ready to leave, Pharaoh changed his mind again. This happened every time.
The next plague God sent was lice. People and animals all got lice. Then flies everywhere. Then cattle disease. So all the cows got sick and died. Then boils, terrible blisters on everyone. Then hail fell from the sky, big pieces of hail as big as ping pong balls. Then locusts, which ate the plants, including all of the crops.
So between the cattle disease, which ruined the meat, and the hail and locusts, which wrecked the crops, Egypt was in bad shape. People were hungry. Then came the plague of darkness. The sun never rose and people were frightened and cold. The plagues were spreading fear and sickness across Egypt.
But the crazy thing was, after each plague, Pharaoh would call Moses and Aaron to the palace and tell them that if their God made the plague stop, the Jews could leave Egypt. So God would end the plague, and then Pharaoh would harden his heart and change his mind, keeping the Jews in bondage. It was a mess.
Who is the God of yours? How is it that each of these plagues only affects the Egyptians and not the Hebrews? Get out!
Pharaoh, our God is all-powerful. We don't know what we can do to make you see that you must give in. We're warning you now that God told Moses what the next plague will be. He's going to kill the firstborn of every Egyptian household, including your youngest son. Pharaoh, don't let this happen. Let the people go.
I do not know your God, and I will not let your people go. Get out of my house. Get out!
God then came to Moses and instructed him to have all the Jewish people slay a lamb and smear some of its blood on the doorposts of their houses and gates. Then when the angel of death flew over Egypt, he took the lives of all of the firstborn, except for those in the homes marked with blood. Pharaoh's own son died. It was devastating. The people of Egypt were in mourning. Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh yet again.
Pharaoh, we are truly sorry for your loss.
Go away. Go away and leave me to my grief.
But Pharaoh, now that you have seen how powerful God is, will you let our people go?
Be gone already. You and your people, you have ruined my empire.
So Aaron and Moses left Pharaoh and went to the Jews.
Listen to me, everyone. Remember this day when you were able to leave Egypt. We were slaves, and now we are going to be free, and God will guide us out of here to the promised land.
We must go fast. We must make food, but we must go before Pharaoh changes his mind again.
He won't change his mind. Not this time.
Moses, if we leave right now, the bread won't have time to rise.
Forget the food. Forget the bread. Let's go.
Most of the Jews went with Moses and Aaron, but some felt the whole idea of leaving their homes and going to some unknown land was crazy, so they stayed in Egypt. But meanwhile,
I've just let all my slaves go. This is not good for the people of Egypt. All that my forefathers have worked for will vanish if I lose the Hebrew slaves. Who will build the cities? The entire economy of Egypt will collapse. It will be the end of an empire. I want them back.
See how that goes. So, once again, Pharaoh had hardened his heart. He got his army together and went after the Jews. Because they were walking and had lots of kids with them who were slow walkers, the Jews had only gotten a few miles away from Egypt, and they were close to the Red Sea.
Look, the Egyptians are coming. They will kill us all. They will work us to death. Moses, do something.
Don't be afraid. God has handled things for us before, and I don't think he would have made all those plagues just to have us die at the edge of the Red Sea now.
Then God spoke to Moses. Moses, lift your rod and stretch out your hand over the sea and divide it. And the children of Israel shall go across the sea safely.
It was amazing. When Moses raised his rod, the water of the sea parted, and the children of Israel walked across on the ground at the bottom of the sea, and it was dry land. They were totally fine. But when Pharaoh's armies followed to catch them, the waters closed in, and Pharaoh's armies were drowned.
That was a miracle. We made it across the Red Sea. I don't know what God has in store for us next, but at last we are free.
And Miriam took a timbrel, which is another word for tambourine. She took it in her hand, and all of the women went out after her with their timbrels and danced and sang.
This is the word of the Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Amen.